In 2020, as more and more people began to work and shop from home as COVID-19 raced through our communities, there was a seismic growth in home deliveries. In the US alone, non-profit Stand.Earth estimated that 4.5 million tonnes of CO2 emissions was generated just by the last part of the home delivery process, often the last mile between the delivery depot and your front door. These emissions, equivalent to burning 4.5 billion pounds or 2 billion kilos of coal, has only grown since then as customers have grown ever reliant on last-mile delivery services. Of course, the rise in electric delivery vehicles like Amazon's all-electric delivery trucks as built by Rivian or GM's fleet of bright drop delivery vehicles will ultimately help decarbonize last-mile delivery solutions, as will automated electrically powered delivery robots. But while companies are ploughing billions of dollars into multi-ton electric vehicles and AI-powered bots, there's a more sustainable, equitable and appropriate way to get packages around the urban and suburban communities that the overwhelming majority of people watching this live in, and that's electric cargo bikes. And for the first of our series of videos from Fully Charged Live Canada, we're going to launch headlong into the world of cargo bikes with an interview with cargo bike industry insider and advocate Sam Starr. Oh, and if you're wondering why I am giving you a voiceover, we had a slight production issue on our first day of filming, and we lost both my intro and outro to this interview, but not the actual interview. The rest of the footage from the event is just fine, so I'm sorry. Oh, and if you want to know why myself and Kate are wearing masks in all of our Fully Charged Live videos, we've thrown an explanation link in the video description.
Sam, it is great to see you here at Fully Charged Live Canada here in Vancouver, BC. I hope today has gone really well for you. This is a very busy weekend for you. You are wearing multiple hats, so I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Sure, thank you, and it's such a pleasure to be here. Yes, I am wearing multiple hats this weekend. I work for a nonprofit based out of Toronto called our Greenway Conservancy that has been very focused on cargo bikes and cyclo-logistics and driving the acceleration and adoption of them at various levels. And we are actually running the first annual North American Cargo Bike Conference here at Fully Charged tomorrow, Saturday, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we're really excited. We have a bunch of manufacturers and municipality representatives and others and operators here to talk about their use of cargo bikes and what the future holds for cargo bikes. So very excited about that. Additionally, I work for an organization, company called Penguin Pickup. We run a bunch of PUDOs, pickup and delivery operations locations, basically little mini hubs, essentially all across Montreal, Vancouver, and Toronto. And we are in the process of deploying cargo bikes and sustainable delivery methods. And we're also exploring other things like parcel lockers and other opportunities to drive more sustainable logistics. That's really the whole focus, is decarbonizing logistics. That is really what we're looking at. You know, the freight really does matter, and this is really what we're focused at. So yes, a couple different hats, and it's exciting to be here and taking this entire show. It's been great.
You were joking earlier, you're not going to get a lot of sleep between now and the end of the show. You're doing really well. It's just gone 3 on the first day, so I'm sure you're going to be fine throughout the entire show. So let's start by talking about cargo bikes. Cargo bikes aren't exactly new. In Europe, they've been around for a really long time, but something that's made cargo bikes even more awesome is real advancements in the last decade in battery electric technology. So we're now seeing cargo bikes that have lithium-ion battery packs, really powerful, compact, lightweight motors that can actually haul a lot of cargo. How much of an improvement have we seen in the cargo bike world as a consequence of these e-bike improvements?
It's really dramatic. I mean, electrification really opens the door for lighter weight vehicles and really smarter, more urban friendly vehicles to really be deployed to do logistics purposes. And we're seeing, as you said, in Europe, that dramatic growth. And cities are really doubling down on trying to push more and more hubs to get more and more bikes and zero emission zones, and it's getting really exciting. I've heard that some cities in North America are looking at exploring emission zones, congestion charging in New York, for example. So it's really awesome to see that. When you get down to the technology and these motors, these e-bike motors, they've really come quite a long way. And we're seeing a lot more reliability, we're seeing a lot more durability, but we're also seeing a lot more torque and a lot more instantaneous power, which allows for these bikes to climb the hills that we have in this great city of Vancouver, and a lot of other places that have such challenging terrain. Our North American cities are a little bit different than those in Europe because of things like that. And we are, and really the new motor technology, the new battery technology is really allowing for the range to get to really where it needs to be for lots of operators to really start adopting this technology. And we're starting to really see that. Canada Post, Purolator, FedEx, UPS, DHL, they're all the big guys, and even a lot of the smaller companies are now coming out looking at using cargo bikes as that mode and shifting that mode. They are more city friendly. They are, we do have the opportunity with infrastructure to really make them much safer for everybody. They're reducing congestion. They're taking vans off the road. I mean, it's not just one less car, it should be one less delivery van and one less truck. Like, there are ways we can do this, and that really comes down to the municipalities as well as the R&D that's going into these cargo bikes, and the operators to start seeing that this is the technology that can be used. And one other thing to add too is it's been proven already that you can replace one cargo van with one cargo bike. The trick is using delivery hubs and servicing an area of about 5 kilometers, 3 miles, 5 kilometers. So being able to create more of those hubs, more of those consolidation centers is really what's going to facilitate this movement, coupled with a lot of other policy and regulation that could help drive the industry to start looking at the more sustainable option.
Now, since COVID entered the scene several years ago now, and we're living still in the COVID age, there's been an explosion in at-home delivery services, be they food delivery services, be they home shopping, mega companies like Amazon really pushing home delivery services and moving away from government-run or countrywide run postal services to their own delivery services or to third-party delivery services. And that has resulted actually in an increase in emissions because there are more delivery vehicles on the road traveling more passenger miles or kilometers, or cargo miles or kilometers, I guess. And that is increasing congestion, that is increasing overall emissions. And the thing that we all assumed that would be good about home delivery is we don't have to go out. But because all that stuff has to come to you, it's an emissions nightmare, it's a congestion nightmare. Tell me how advancing the use of cargo bikes, cargo e-bikes in big cities like Vancouver, can dramatically lower emissions, improve congestion, improve health, and also improve communities.
Absolutely. So cargo bikes have the ability to replace over 50% of trips being made, whether that is to your local supermarket or that is by a delivery company that's currently out there running their route. They're also 60% faster than the average vehicle, especially when they're able to leverage bike lanes, and they provide a 90% reduction in emissions. So it's really talk about a vehicle that's really a game changer. It's the cargo bike, and the ones that are pedal assist and really not as throttle focused. And I know this opens a whole can of worms, and I'm sorry for that. But the pedal assist ones are really the ones where you're going to get that public health benefit. That's really what's going to drive that, and because you're really just aiding the ability to move the bike, move the cargo, move the weight, and you have a lot more control as a pedal assist versus a fully loaded throttle bike, which might as well be a moped, and technically in many ways is. So I know there are hybrids in between, and we see a lot of that in the North American market, and it's exciting to, I think these bikes really do provide that opportunity. When you couple that with the infrastructure and with cities that are saying, okay, this area is a zero emission zone. This area, we want to make this a walkable neighborhood. This area, we need to help improve commerce. We should be investing in making this walk and bike, and we want to get more people onto transit and all the, like, that's all fantastic. That's really where we need to go. And what's the vehicle that's going to be able to safely do that and allow us to right size our fleets in many ways and properly size really our fleets to the urban environment? It's going to be that of a cargo bike, whether it be a heavy duty cargo bike, like some of the coaster cycles and the Urbies that we see around town, or even the lightweight Bullets and urban Arrows and those long johns, or even the Turn GS. Like, there's a lot of any different style of cargo bike is really going to drive that, help drive that, and it comes down to that combination of that infrastructure and the bike itself.
There's also obviously a benefit for our local community, improved job access, and by decentralizing massive delivery depots and making it much more decentralized and more community driven, you're not only providing jobs for the community, but you're having riders that are more aware of their community, are more likely to spot if things are awry in the community. So there's actually a community benefit as well, isn't there?
Absolutely. And one of the things we're finding, in my work at Penguin Pickup, the courier we've hired is a local here to Vancouver and been here for a majority of his life, and like loves the ins and outs of the city, and he gets such pleasure out of being out on the bike and doing those deliveries and really seeing the community in action and contributing to the community being greener, being more beautiful, and being more walkable and all of that, and getting another vehicle off the road. So like those types of movements are absolutely fantastic, and it's great and I think cargo bikes in of themselves are going to help drive more of that community awareness, and also that more neighborhood focus. That neighborhood focus is something that's always been special to me, and something I very much value. And I think that it's something that we as citizens in our cities should be also valuing as well, and say, maybe we don't need that car to drive a kilometer down the road to go pick up my shopping. Maybe I should take the bike, or even a bus, or even or maybe walk it because it's a nice day out, and carry a backpack with me. Like that's where these vehicles and bikes and all can really make it be game changers.
And by removing a windshield and a whole load of metal, a couple of tons of metal, you're actually removing the barrier for community members who might feel lonely, who might feel not part of the community, to actually reach out. And the simple act of waving hello to someone on a bicycle is very different to waving hello to someone who's in a big Sprinter van that's trying to rush around and hit all of their targets.
Absolutely. And in the last few years, especially with COVID, as we've been talking about, there's been a big uptick in active travel. People saying, okay, I'm not going to go fly somewhere. Maybe I'll just get on my bike and go ride to a campsite, or go ride to another city and go try this out, and use the trail systems that we have, and use the bike cycling networks that we have. That's a great way of, and Europe is actually now doubling down on that with their Eurovelo network and a whole bunch of other, these are all things that are really transformative to the social fabric, as you were saying, and building that community. And that's really the power of the bike. I mean, one of the reasons I even got into cycling and into the e-bike world was because I realized I didn't want to own a car, but I also wanted to be able to explore my community and get around and commute with it. So I bought a Brompton folding bike. Complete game changer. Walk onto the SkyTrain or a Metro and fold it up and walk, and then get off the other stop and ride to your destination. Such an eye-opening to the world. And then when you realize the power of an e-bike being able to carry all the cargo and your grocery shopping and your and your goods, your parcel deliveries, you don't need to have it delivered. It costs so much money to have it delivered to your home. Go pick it up at the local shop. Go do your own grocery shopping. And you know what? It's flashier being with your cargo bike than it is necessarily with a very nice car at these supermarkets.
So a lot of people criticize e-bikes and e-cargo bikes. They say they're too fast, they're too large, the roads are not built for them, they're built for cars and trucks. There is a constant back and forth between people who want roads to be exclusively for large vehicles, and people who want to share that road space, and people who want to have a separate shared road space. And we've seen the data, right? We've seen that the city in Georgia, where they've got two separate road systems, one for low-speed vehicles, for the golf carts, and low-speed neighborhood electric vehicles, and another for cars. We've seen the city in Michigan that has banned cars and has never had cars, and everybody cycles. It's a normal thing, and everyone seems quite happy with it. How do we bring about vibrant, sustainable cities in the future where we're not fighting for space on our roads between bikes, e-bikes, cargo bikes, and large multi-ton vehicles?
I feel like that's the $1 million question. Or the golden question, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, there's so many ways to break that down. I think a lot of it comes down to really awareness and education, which is part of the work that our Greenway is doing in academic research, looking at the bikes and saying, okay, we need reliable bikes. Businesses are saying that they don't want to be having to hire, if they want to bring on a bike, they want to just be part of their fleet. They don't want to go hire a mechanic. They don't want to have to learn all the intricacies of the bike. No, just make it part of that vehicle. Make it part of the fleet. Same thing with small businesses. They want basically a turnkey solution. If I'm a small business owner and I've been running a van my entire time and I'm doing a landscaping business, I want something that I can, that's designed for me, that makes it easier, has a module that works for me as a landscaper or as a plumber or as an electrician. So to tie it back to how do we get cities and how do we get the public to start realizing, I think a lot of it's going to come down to, I think we should be taking some cues from our European friends. So what our European friends have done a lot of is piloting and getting these bikes out, creating programs where the city's providing opportunities for different businesses to trial the bike and see how it goes and see how it works, and apartment complexes to have one that anyone in the building can use and experiment with. And then track that, not just give it to them and walk away. No, track it and encourage it and work with the local bike shops, work with the local people who are experts on these bikes. And that's gonna really help drive and get these businesses to realize, hey, there's an opportunity here. And maybe I do need to look for a cargo bike or even just a light electric vehicle or something smaller. Like maybe I don't need that big F-350 truck with a trailer because I'm only hauling around a couple things every day, but I think it's that mentality in particular that needs that change. We're also used to being in the cocoon of our cars, and for lack of a better way of saying that, and being able to realize, wait, I'm only carrying, my backpack's only carries 10, 15 pounds worth of stuff, and when I do a grocery shopping, I can only haul enough with like 4 or 5 bags, maybe a bit more, or shopping carts worth. E-bikes and cargo bikes can carry shopping carts worth all day long and all over town. So it's getting beyond that, the stigma that's kind of already been there, and the cultural, it's not just a stigma, it's more of a cultural connection of going, wait a second, there is an opportunity here. And some of that's going to come from our governments, some of that's going to come from policy that's going to say, hey, we want to shift vehicles out of the central business districts, and we want to make it so you look to a different vehicle like a cargo bike or a light electric vehicle or something, because we want to pedestrianize this area, and pedestrianizing this area is going to really help give an economic boost that we need. And I think all those things that I just said are kind of the disconnects that are there. Even though research has shown that shops make more money when they have bike parking outside of their stores, and it's significant. Shop owners themselves still believe in that having that 1 or 2 parking spaces instead of the 15 to 9 to 10 bike parking spaces is somehow still what they need.
Right.
When really, maybe it's not a bad idea to have a bike lane go by and to have the bikes there. And yes, you've lost your parking per se, but you actually gained a lot more parking because you gained a lot of customers that are riding by your store every day and going, oh, actually now I want to go buy that, or I need that thing, I should go look at that, or that's kind of what drives it. I mean, and I know I'm not very much of a shopper, but there are times where I ride by a place and it hits my mind that I had meant to go get something of that type, or I needed to pick up something. And because that store is accessible on the bike lane, I'm going to go use it.
And you have the time to see it and to react to it.
Exactly.
And I know that Climate Town and Not Just Bikes have done some fantastic videos on city planning, and especially in America.
Oh, they're wonderful, yeah.
How big cities have, these massive parking lots that are designed for maximum theoretical capacity, not how many people actually use it with a car. And so you get these these massive stroads, you get these
Yep.
massive urban jungles with big parking lots that are empty 90% of the time. The pilot projects that obviously you're involved with one with Penguin Pickup, we're seeing here in Vancouver, it seems to be doing very, very well. I know that there is more awareness now
Yep.
of e-cargo bikes. Cargo bikes in other cities around the world are going through a renaissance. I know in Portland, Oregon, there's a program with Forth and the local school district that allows parents of kids in certain grades of school to basically borrow a cargo bike for a while to see if they can get their kids to and from school. And of course, parents using cargo bikes, again, removes another car off the road,
Absolutely.
gets the kids to school quicker, encourages the kids to have a healthier lifestyle. I know that I grew up in a carless family, and having no access to a car taught me a lot about resilience and self-reliance and being able to figure out a train timetable or a bus timetable.
Yep.
Figuring out how I'm going to get from A to B using the best method of transport, which normally ended up being a multimodal solution. I mean, this is back in the 1980s, right? Cargo bikes themselves are not new. In the UK, in the 40s, 50s,
Oh yeah.
cargo bikes were commonly used by the baker or the butcher to offer home delivery services. What does the future of cargo biking look like for North America? And will we ever get to a point that we are going to be on par with what we're seeing in the Netherlands, what we're seeing in other European countries?
Oh, there's so much I want to take from your question there, because I grew up in a very car-centric family. However, I just want to say this briefly. I grew up in a car-centric family. However, I spent the first 3 years of my life living right off the metro line in Washington, D.C. My father's from Montreal, but so I was taking transit all around when I was a child, and then we moved to the suburbs, and then all I had was my bike to ride up and down the cul-de-sac, and that was it. And I was far away from any transit. And I think that actually had a big impact on me in realizing that I actually do value the transit that I had. And I remember taking transit to school. Like, we would go take the transit to kindergarten or whatever it was as a child. So, like, that's kind of what I grew up with. In terms of, sorry for the part on that sidebar, but in terms of how we get to where, like, I think we have a long ways to go, but I do think it's achievable. And I think what it is going to take, it's going to take a lot of work from policymakers and from city councilors and education for a lot of the policymakers to understand that there is value in a cargo bike and that there is value in looking for smaller vehicles than just the car, and that the car just becoming electrified is not the answer and doesn't solve the answer. And oh yeah, cool, with all the whole automated deliveries but that doesn't even solve the last steps. Part of what's made delivery successful, and I worked for FedEx at the beginning of my career, part of what makes delivery successful is that customer experience, is that handoff and you don't get that with a sidewalk robot that pulls up to your door and you have to go walk out and go grab it. You don't get that. I mean, with an electric vehicle that's doing the deliveries, yes, they have to run in and out of the vehicle, but they may park 5 blocks away because they can't find parking, and just circling around doing that is driving congestion. So there's lots of, I think it comes down to a combination of like education, policy. It's really building out that ecosystem. And in order for cargo bikes to actually be successful, and I was just talking about this with one of the operators just earlier over lunch, is building that ecosystem and having something similar to like the automotive ecosystem. We're also used to, and we don't even think about the fact that the automotive world has layers of suppliers, has layers of insurance policies built all around it, has financing solutions built all around it, has everything. Like, all this stuff is ingrained in our society and has been built over the last 100 years around the car. We can do the same thing with the cargo bike, and that's really where, and e-bikes in general, and that's really where I think Europe is really aiming to go. Not just in the bike itself, but also in the delivery systems, like building out networks of hubs. There's something called the physical internet, which is the concept of basically consolidation, but also cooperation between companies to share delivery vehicles as well as hubs, and that's driving a lot of this. So for us as North Americans to sort of get over that sort of cultural hurdle, we'll say, of the car, as being our primary use and our sort of first choice. I think we need, it's going to come down to public awareness, it's going to come to building out infrastructure, it's going to come to cities and city councils realizing that in order for their businesses actually to survive, their economies actually to survive and to do well, get out of this sort of suburban financial drain, which has been proven. I don't want to get into that too much, but how the suburbs are draining finances. So get out of that is to build communities that are not just these little mixed-use malls, but are actually mixed-use and hub-centric, almost like mini hub-centric style places, where they become an outlet for everybody. I mean, I think here in North America, especially having grown up in the States, one of the things that I think is a huge opportunity is to look at converting some of these old malls. Yeah. These old malls that are now becoming either amusement parks or just dilapidated spaces. That's a perfect transit center. Make it a transit center. Incorporate public transit. Incorporate transportation options. Build communities around it. They can be very, very dense communities around it as well. Make them very walkable and livable. Make them green. Get rid of all the parking lots that go on for acres and acres, and you could really transform that. And I think that those types of changes and that type of awareness will help sort of steer us in the right direction and start changing the gears to be like, oh yeah, I see value of now this new community that popped up that seems to be fairly self-reliant, and and all the businesses are doing well, and people are happy in these places, and there's parks all over, and there's that's how we're going to get towards being like the Netherlands. Because when you ride around the Netherlands, you really are riding from like small village to small village to small village, obviously between the big cities and the medium and sized towns. But it's all linked together with like little small towns.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in rural East Anglia in the UK. We had no car, and it was literally, a couple of kilometers down the road, you would be in another village.
Right, and it's wonderful, actually. I mean, and being able to open up those routes and open up transportation. I mean, where I grew up in the suburbs of Washington, D.C., in order to get anywhere, you really needed a car. Right. There was a bus that ran once an hour. That was it. And that ran to a metro that ran really often, but otherwise that was it.
And the metro stations have huge parking lots for people to drive their cars to the metro, to then travel the last,
right.
however many miles.
And when we think of goods delivery, and we think of even our own personal errands and supermarkets and shopping malls and all, reason why Canadian shopping malls tend to do actually much better than American, I was reading some article recently, is a lot of it's that our shopping malls tend to be built around transit centers, and that's why ours have actually thrived in many, and why European malls thrive, because they have food halls and they make them like community almost oriented food halls and shopping shopping hubs, which is a lot different than sort of the American mall model and North American mall model, frankly. But I think we can start leveraging those types of things. Transit-oriented development is another fantastic way of doing that. You see a lot of that in the Netherlands. Transit-oriented development promotes the use of bikes and walking to those stations, and that's something here that we're lucky to have here in Vancouver, where we're seeing dramatic growth around that, dramatic growth in that area, and that's really, I think, one of the things that's facilitating more companies and more people saying, oh, let me get a cargo bike. I can just ride to the train station. I can go ride to take my kid to school. I can ride to the supermarket. And so I think I hope I answered the question, but I think that's a lot of the change that we need, a bit of a reformed look at, okay, instead of the shopping mall going down, or instead of this area just continually struggling, why not build a community around it? There's no harm in let's look at how we change the zoning laws in order to do that too. I mean, there's just so many elements to this. That's why I say an ecosystem that I started the conversation with.
And of course, we also have this challenge with, a lot of people go, oh yeah, but if you're in a really snowy place in North America where there's lots of snow on the ground, you can't ride a bike in the winter. And you say, okay, well, look at Toronto. Toronto has loads of cycleways that are actively cleared in the winter and people use them. Or what about, Montreal. Look about all the really hot places. Well, what about cycling? And then when you go, you can design cycleways with shade, with trees, local native trees that provide lots of good shade. So there are solutions to environmental challenges.
Absolutely. I believe Not Just Bikes did a great, I think I'm right with this, Not Just Bikes is the one who did a great video on why in Norway it's great, like they ride bikes all year round, and Canadians, we struggle with it.
Right.
And why is a lot of that? It's mental.
Right. And it was Montreal that did the clearing of the
Yes.
of the
And
paths.
so Montreal is one of the first to deploy these micro hubs, city hubs under their Colibri project, which they launched in 2019. They've recently expanded it through an organization called Co-op Carbone, who I used to work for actually. And they, as part of, and they're really starting to accelerate the use of cargo bikes. What they found, not only can they replace one cargo bike with one van with one cargo bike, but they really found that the bikes will operate all year round, with minor modifications to their, to the chassis and to using winter tires. Which yes, bikes have winter tires just as well as cars do, and except for the few days where the city was completely shut down. And when I say completely shut down, no one was going out. It was
Right.
4 or 5 days a year. That's typical in Montreal, where no one's going out. The city the government shuts down, and that's when all the delivery companies are like, well, yeah, we're not delivering today.
Right.
It's a snowstorm, it's a blizzard, it's whatever it is, it's too icy out. They're not doing that. So the fact that they're able to run these year round, and the fact, there are minor modifications to these bikes that these bikes need to make them safer to be run in winter time. And otherwise it comes down to how you dress. Just as important as every day, if you're going to go bike out in the rain, grab a raincoat, and wear an extra layer, waterproof pants. If you're going to go out in the snow, and it's -5 out, you want to have Celsius or Fahrenheit, you want to have a couple layers on underneath it,
Right.
and that's what breathable ones, like there are ways of getting around a lot of this, and a lot of it just comes down to like thinking outside the box just a bit. Like I was up until a few years ago, I was not an all-season rider.
Right.
I was much more of a fair weather
Right.
rider and everything else, and I love doing that. But I've gone into the whole all-season thing. Why? Because I'd rather be on my bike than be in a car if I
And
can.
it's the
be on the
adrenaline
bus,
and everything else.
And I want to keep my exercise and keep fit. And even if it's on an e-bike, you're still getting that fitness,
Right.
some form of fitness. So it's really there are ways of making this work.
And e-bikes, of course, do improve cardiovascular fitness. There's tons of studies that have proven
Absolutely.
that compared to not cycling at all. And I know there is still some snobbery between e-bikes and regular bikes.
Oh,
although
gosh.
I went past someone the other day who was clad in Lycra on a $5,000 bike, and they were not happy that I was on an e-bike, even though I was pedaling and I wasn't using the motor. A complicated story.
Happens
Finally,
everywhere, sadly.
finally, let's finish off with the big money thing. We live in a capitalist society.
Yes.
The amount of money for an electric delivery vehicle, for an electric car, is continually going up. It's one of our bugbears here at the channel. Every time a car company comes out with a mildly affordable car, they make it for a few years and then they cancel it and then bring out a more expensive model that has features people don't want. Same with cargo vehicles. The benefits from health obviously are billions a year globally
Yep.
from riding e-bikes than using delivery vehicles. But let's talk about fleet operators. If you are a small business and you have 1 or 2 vehicles, the savings are pretty impressive, aren't they,
Yes.
if you go to an e-bike?
And a lot of the trick to getting started as an e-bike company is operating within about a 5-kilometer or 3-mile radius, essentially. And that's really where you can find the most optimal financial benefit, really. So where you're going to get the higher frequency deliveries, so more deliveries per hour, but you're also going to be able, and because the cargo bikes do cost significantly less than EVs, you really are saving. There's quite a bit of savings to be had there. And as more and more financing opportunities come out, that's really another support to make it a lot easier to get into cargo bikes, including leasing options that now some manufacturers are even launching as well. So there's really great opportunity to at least trial a cargo bike out of your facility. And I know a lot of delivery companies have their facilities well out of town, but even look to partner with a company that does have a warehouse or a mini location or a retail store downtown where you can park that cargo bike and use as a mini hub. That's a great way of getting into this and looking at how you can really build that optimization into your fleet and also drive sustainability. Because yes, that EV van you're going to buy is going to cost you a fortune, and you're going to also have to buy all the charging equipment and everything else, and it's a lot more capital intensive than if you were to actually get a cargo bike and you can plug it into the regular outlets every night, set up a little battery box, a safe, secure battery box that's on metal shelving and everything, and you're set and ready to go. So a lot of this is just kind of shifting the mindset a bit and going, okay, yeah, these EVs, you're right, they're getting substantially more expensive. There's some amazing delivery vans downstairs. They're really cool, they're huge, they're cool, they're great. But I'd much rather see these companies start looking to how can they shift out of those delivery vans and into cargo bikes as that last mile, as that final, and that first mile, and really say, and be more transformative in their cities.
Sam, thank you so much for talking with me. Where can people go if they want more information about cargo bikes, e-cargo bikes, and shifting the way that they think about urban fleets?
There's a lot of different places I recommend going. First, I would go to www.cargobikefest.ca, which is our North American Cargo Bike Conference website. Additionally, I would say look at cyclelogistics.eu, which is a great resource put together by a lot of colleagues of mine who are really focused on advancing cargo bikes, as well as International Cargo Bike Fest, which is cargobikefestival.com, I believe. Yeah, pretty sure. cargobikefestival.com. Please check out cargobikefestival.com as well. They are great partners with us, and they really are also trying to advance the future of cargo bikes, and they'll be at the Fully Charged Amsterdam show at the end of November. So, there's lots of great resources out there. Again, so cargobikefest.ca, which is our North American Cargo Bike Conference, cyclelogistics.eu, and cargobikefestival.com, which is the International Cargo Bike Festival.
And we'll link to them all below.
Please
Sam,
do.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
And on that note, we are done with today's video. If you have comments, you can drop us a polite note below in the Discord chat room, on Mastodon, or if you are a Patreon supporter, you can leave your thoughts in the comments there. If you want more, subscribe, hit the bell, and follow the links below to regularly support us with a YouTube membership or a Patreon subscription. You'll also find links to our Ko-fi, Bitcoin, and Swag store, as well as that aforementioned Mastodon server. Scrolling on my right is the list of amazing charged up supporters, and shout outs go out to our V2G Patreon supporters. They are Alan Tupper, Andrew Martin, Bennett Elder, Brophy Wolf, Chris Maxwell, Cyprian Aplas, Stan Blair, Gordon C, Hey Esker, John Trammell, Carl Fox, Mark Eggleton, Peter Dillinger, Regine Fellows, Sean Tucker, Stefan Fremgen, Stephen Williams, Taslet and the Gong, Paul Bricknell, Tony Moss, Carl Hodgson, Krista Centaur, Denny Hyde, Lance Schall, Linda Irish, Mike Reeder, and Paul Nelson. And finally, big thanks to our off-grid supporters: Paul Conway, Kevin Burrowbridge, Stephen O'Donoghue, Jim Burness, Robert Flannery, Aaron Hahn, Ellery Hensley, Rory Litwin, JP Fagerback, Dave Kitchen, Andrew Glenn, Anonymous Freak, Chris and Michael Johnson, Clay Witt, CPU Freak 101, Eric Knack, Joe Bresney, John Henderson, Laura Reynolds, Marcel Ward, Matthew Drobnak, Nigel S., Reggie Watts, Will Graylin, and of course, Ian. Don't forget that we make videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday on this channel, plus on a Sunday, you'll find us on Take 2. And with that, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you soon, and as always, keep evolving!